My father died at his age of 47. I was 19. I'm now 63. So actually, it's been a long gestation. And I think part of the effort of writing it is to make sense of his life, not just the facts and where, but the whys and more the how and the character, motivations. And besides him, I think in some ways, a supporting cast role is played by me. This is not a book I could have written when I was 19, or any age. I think before I understood what it meant to retire, as he was retired early because of his heart attack, before his own mortality, which he had a sense of his illness and death, and of course having his sense of purpose, really helping that pioneer generation. I'm not a pioneer generation, obviously, but I was around as a kid to see it, and I think I've tried to also live it out in my own life, helping my country in whatever ways they found need for me. So I think in this sense, the book is written today because we are going through that period where our generation is saying goodbye, or has said goodbye, to the pioneer generation. And we ourselves, we are also facing that retirement prospect. So we're trying to make sense of our lives, the ones who came before us. And I think we're telling a story for younger Singaporeans, because the Singapore we knew in the 60s and 70s, that is fundamentally changed. It's so different. Insecurity, in economy, in what we eat, how we live life every day.
Is there value in bringing that up for the future generation, other than historical perspective? But yeah, right. So you live through that, and I'll have to live through something, and my children's children will have to live through their own thing. What's the value? What do you bring into that discussion in your book?
Well, I think first of all, the 1970s, 60s saw tumult in Singapore and the region. Let's take chapter 1, which is about the larger incident. Now, first of all, many people don't know it, but 50 years ago, this year, Singapore suffered a major terrorist attack. They tried to blow up the large oil refinery at Bukom. That oil refinery, the largest in the region, supplied all the fuel for the American forces in Vietnam. They had oil crisis in that period. And these terrorist groups weren't just local guys. They're from the Red Army of Japan and the Palestinian Popular Front. So there really was a concerted effort to put Singapore in the spotlight and press it. And I think in some ways, I don't mean to be a doomcaster, but this global tumult situation in the Gaza, our friendship with Israel and America, these things are coming back in a strange pattern. Now, I'm not saying history is doomed to repeat itself, but there's a kind of a rhyme, echoes. I think this is where I hope very directly the security of Singapore, much more successful now than the 60s, can't be taken for granted. But it's more than that. It's more about his generation finding a place in Singapore and dedicating itself to some aspect of it. My father actually was born in Malaya, in Taiping, very different place. He came to Singapore just for university. Met my mother. I wouldn't be here otherwise. And I think that's where being that spy chief forced him to make a commitment to Singapore. In 65, when he got called from Lee Kuan Yew, I guess he could have said no, but since he didn't, he had to give, and literally he gave his life to the country. He died of a series of medical problems, which some of it rose from the tension of his work.
I'm sure the tension must have been something else, and a lot of people will tell you to chill, right? If you want to get better.
Work-life balance. So, writing from the perspective of today, one of the things I try to, not didactically, is to just tell people Singapore is a much humbler place, but not always better. I mean, I'm not saying everything was golden and now it's terrible and better, because work-life balance. And fundamentally also what it's like to be a parent, a man particularly, right? His generation and partly our generation. Main job is your job. Paternity leave. I wouldn't have imagined it when my son was born. My son's now 27. I'm glad there's paternity leave now. But, I hope in this sense that tells the current generation what we might see looking back and also helping look forward. Because we're kind of in the middle, I think.
Yeah.
Now, again, I'm worried though. My book, particularly with private life, depends a lot on family stories, like told around the table. Your uncles tell you they were dirt poor in World War II. My grandfather was killed by the Japanese, and my father was 9 years old, the elder son. So they're a huge family. They struggled. But you know, while that may sound dramatic, when you're told about this as a kid, countless of times, like, you know, blah blah blah, you know. So I just hope my story isn't just about my father, blah blah blah, but it has some resonance.
You know, when you look at what you're doing now with SIIA, right? You are looking at what's taking place politically and economically in the region, in the world as well. It's a think tank. There are echoes of what your father did in what you are doing. Right?
I'm not a spy chief.
You're not a spy chief, but the search for knowledge.
Yeah.
I mean, part of spy chief thing is to get the knowledge, right?
And yeah, a lot of it actually is open source. That's fair. And frankly, at the work as a think tank, if you take it seriously, governments will talk to you, including their foreign affairs and some of their intelligence agencies. I've been to Langley, so we do engage with them. We don't spy for anybody, but we analyze. We share publicly. So we're open spying. You know, we share our views. I'll still go to China. I've been invited by part of the Communist Party. Our government knows about it, so you know, I'm not selling us out. But I think this is part of the strange echo because, like I said, my father was 47, I was 19. I don't think he taught me how to analyze. I didn't also consciously follow his footsteps. I read the books he left. They were about China, about our region. In the book, I write about his worldview. The pioneer generation of Lee Kuan Yew, Dr. Goh, Keng Swee, Rajaratnam, the Prime Minister, they helped sculpt a kind of worldview for Singapore. And a lot of that is foundational. It's still there. And I think hopefully my think tank, others, we build on that.